Hello everyone, it is that time of year where the drugstore brands and really all brands seem to be pushing out a lot of new launches just at the start of the year. I always notice this happening, and especially with Maybelline right now, I found some new things. I got them on Ulta's website, most of them, and there's some pretty significant aspects to the line. There's a new foundation, a new eyeshadow palette, mascara, a cream blush, and I have been working with them for a while. Certain things are really impressing me, and so I wanted to kind of share that with you today, along with the things that maybe aren't 100% for me right now. I also have a painful canker sore on my tongue, so that's not making talking a whole lot of fun right now. But here goes. The first thing is this new foundation, and it's called Dream Radiant Liquid, and it claims to have hyaluronic acid and collagen. I have it in nude beige, and they do say it's a medium coverage foundation with radiant finish, up to 12 hours of continuous hydration. And I do feel like this is a really hydrating foundation. Like after you blend it in, I definitely feel a distinct dewiness to my skin, and it doesn't seem to really fade away as I wear this. Even though I make an effort to set it, it still manages to feel kind of dewy. So this might be a good foundation to check out if you have dry skin. I do not feel like it has any visible shimmer to it, but it does end up looking kind of glowy. Now it has a pump, and it's not my proper shade. It's a little too dark. That's what happens, y'all, when you order this stuff online. You're gonna miss the mark at times, but I feel like by the time I get this blended in, you will probably get a sense of what the coverage is like and just kind of what the finish is like. I've applied it with a beauty blender before. I do feel like it takes away some of the coverage, and this is one, you know, when you're kind of on the bubble as a medium coverage foundation, if you'd like it to be fuller coverage, you can really affect that. Not that it's going to turn fuller coverage, but if you'd like to enhance the coverage, you can affect that a little bit more by using a dense brush. So I'm getting it blended in, and did you notice how when I first dabbed it across my skin, it seemed like a pretty good shade? At least it didn't seem too far off. And then it very quickly, I want to say it oxidized a little bit. And deepened up some. So just something to be aware of and kind of watch for if you're considering this foundation. You might even err on the side of going a little lighter than you think you need. But I'm just getting this all buffed in. I'm trying to get it nicely around my hairline since, as I noted, it's not my perfect shade. It's kind of reminding me a little bit of the performance and the look of the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow, which I really do like that stuff, only this may be even more hydrating. Maybe just a hint thicker. So as we can see coverage-wise, at least I can definitely see in my mirror, you know, you're gonna see the freckles showing through. I still see some redness, still see some dark circles, but it's more of an overall medium coverage evening out of the skin that's happening here. To me, I think this foundation is a like, not a love. Part of it too is that oxidizing that happened early on. Even though I don't have a brand new Maybelline concealer, I'm gonna go on with my Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Brightener, which I have been using a ton lately, by the way. And I feel like, you know, sometimes I wear it on top of other concealers if I just want that extra brightened effect, but I also can get away with wearing it on its own, and I've got some coverage, you know, some really decent coverage with it. And then this is my little Real Techniques sort of, I call it like a buffing concealer brush, but it's actually a highlighter brush. And just kind of, I'm doing almost a pressing motion over that concealer so as to not swipe it around too much, but more so just press it into the skin so I can get that nice coverage. And yes, I can even get away with using that particular concealer around the redness on the sides of my nose, and it does a decent job with that. Oh my gosh, you guys, who is watching Cheer on Netflix? You've got to watch it. I still think, even if you're not into cheerleading, it's just a really well done, like docu-series, I guess you'd call it, on a community college cheerleading squad in Texas called Navarro, who has had incredible success on the national scale. And I've known about them, you know, I follow cheerleading competitions, and I cheered in college myself. It's just a huge interest to me, but the way they dig into these kids' lives and the coach and just all this stuff, it's fascinating to watch, and the way it ends up all going at the end, like, you gotta watch it. I'm not gonna spoil it, but you gotta see it. We just finished it last night, and I was like, oh, more. All right, I'm gonna set myself with a little bit of my Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder. Like I said, if I don't have a new product, I'm just gonna sort of fill in the blanks with older Maybelline products. But I do love this powder. I haven't reached for it in a while. as far as the setting powder goes, but I've used a lot of my Laura Mercier translucent pressed powder lately. That's kind of been the go-to for just a quick under eye setting powder. With this, I do kind of feel like I want my whole face set somewhat, because that foundation, just, you know, if I come in contact with my skin throughout the day, if I'm giving a hug to maybe a little baby or something, like I just don't like to feel that tacky, because I feel like there's more of a chance of stuff transferring off, and that's just not the feeling I'm going for. So I will get some of this on my brush, and I'm just kind of pressing it here right on top of the skin. But I used my small tapered brush to get a really, you know, focused effect from the powder on my under eye and my T-zone. Just hit the forehead a little bit better here. But if you do not feel like shelling out for the Laura Mercier translucent loose powder, this Maybelline Fit Me is about, I think, as close as it gets from the drugstore. Now, I'm not seeing a Maybelline bronzer on the premises anywhere, so I'm gonna go ahead and use my Butter Bronzer. This is the Sculpting shade from Physicians Formula. We'll just sub in another drugstore product. I'm trying to think what Maybelline really has for bronzers these days, because I had recently decluttered like a bronzer palette that I have from them, because I remember the only great thing in it was like the highlighter shade. So now that I've done that, I don't really have any Maybelline bronzer. And the interesting thing, even though I've put that powder on, like I can still feel dewiness on my skin. So that's something that I guess, unless you put a ton of powder on, which I don't really like to do, you're still gonna have that sensation, you know, to the touch with this foundation. Now for blush, here's the new thing. It's called Cheek Heat, and it's a little tube style blush, cream blush. I have it in the Rose Flush shade, and it was really hard to open up at first. You might need to bring in some pliers, but it is a really nice texture to work with, actually. It seems like brands are sort of working toward a cream blush texture that doesn't set too fast on the skin and just remains pretty nicely blendable. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just sort of work this in with my fingers on one side. You can kind of just press it in. It's got some moisture to it. It's reminding me a little bit of maybe a fuller colored version of that new Physicians Formula stuff, but I find it to be a really pretty shade. And is it a little goes a long way type color? Not especially. I feel like I've got a healthy amount on the skin right now, and I'm not looking over the top with it. I think I said I was going to blend that side out with a brush, actually. I just kind of picked some up off my finger with this brush. I kind of prefer using the brush just because I think I'm messing with the surface of my skin less, and I'm less likely to move around any coverage that I've got going on there. But I mean, that's pretty. It's not really a shimmery product. It's just sort of pure color. Can't remember how many different shades they had in this, but like I said, I'm wearing this rose shade and it comes off, I think, pretty subtle. For highlight, it's some not so new Maybelline, but semi-new, you know, as far as their line goes. It's the Master Chrome, and this is in the Rose Gold Molten shade. This is a really, really intense highlight. I remembered using this in the video where, oh, it was the popular products at Walmart video. And I remembered thinking, like, you could have this highlight for a long, long time because you barely just shimmy your brush into that and then you've got so much. And it doesn't particularly seem rose gold to me. It seems almost like a brightening pinky kind of highlight, which rose gold I think of being a little warmer and deeper. But I'm adding a little bit to the forehead. And we'll do a little Cupid's bow action as well. Whoa, that was a lot. And for brows, one of my favorite finds of 2019, I'm going to use my Maybelline Tattoo Studio Pomade in the Ash Brown shade. Comes with this little brush that is an angled brush and a spoolie, and I really like that. And I definitely take advantage of both ends of the brush. And I feel like I've gotten kind of quick with the application of this, but if you're new to pomades, there's a little bit of a learning curve that takes place, I think. But I said this in my like best of the year video. I'm impressed with how well this has lasted because I've been using this since summer and I don't feel like it's dried out and I don't feel like it's gonna dry out anytime soon. And another neat thing about this is if you didn't want to do anything else in terms of a gel, you know, any kind of holding or fixing step at the end of it, Like, I don't think you'd really have to because it does kind of keep my brows in place pretty well. Sometimes I'll go ahead and apply something on top, sometimes I won't. I didn't pick it up, but I did notice in Walmart, I think Maybelline has some more like skinny pencils. They didn't look like the Master Precise Skinny that I had recently gone through. I think they had some small pencils and some gels. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that if there's one product that tends to be similar across different makeup lines, it's the brow stuff. Like, I feel like the skinny pencils, they're almost all the same. Almost, you know, with some exceptions here and there, but a lot of brands are doing those very, very similarly. Some of the gels, some brands go for a real boldly colorful gel, some are more tinted, some have great hold, some don't, but the pencils, everybody's kind of got the formula down on the pencil, I guess. So just brushing through, making sure I've got them, I guess, as even as they can be right now. And then for an eye primer, I'm just gonna use my Milani because I do not have a Maybelline, sorry. And then I'm so excited to show you guys this eyeshadow palette because that is definitely like the eyeshadow palette and the mascara I'm gonna show you. Super pumped about these. And for me to be super pumped about like a new neutral palette that's come out, it's like, how many neutral palettes do we need? Well, the execution of this one is really freaking good. It's Nudes of New York, and this is definitely the best, I think, eyeshadow product they have come out with yet. All of the finishes in here are really great to work with. We've got some mattes, we've got some shimmers, and I like that they didn't go that sort of trendy direction with their shimmers and make them really chunky and sparkly and flaky. Everything is just really smooth, very pearlescent, easy to work with. So if you can't tell here, your shimmers are these two shades right up here, and then we've got a little core of some metallics down here with like gold and a deeper gold, bronze you might say, a copper, a deeper brownish bronze over here, and one up here that's sort of like a taupe. But you know they're starting to win me over with this like dark cranberry down here. We've got a plum. So it seems like a formula brands are realizing works really well in these neutral palettes now to get a well-rounded one is to have your basic mattes, to have your golds and browns, also throw in some burgundy, also throw in a little bit of plum. Because look at this other palette I also just recently got. It's from Milani. It's called Gilded Nude. And what are they also doing? Okay, we've got browns, we've got some burgundy, we've got, you know, a little hint at some dusty lilac here, but I did not enjoy this palette as well as this one. I just wish they would have gone for it with normal textures, like, you know, they've got a few nice shimmers in here, but this one just flaked all over my face, and this one did not build up very well. And when you eliminate both of those, you eliminate a nice rich shade that could have been good in a matte texture, let's say here, and here you now have no light shimmery shade in the whole palette really, because that one's gone. Gone to me because when I use it even directly on top of a tacky base, it was going everywhere. So this Maybelline one, I feel like anybody could dip into this and just be like, wow, these textures are really super nice. And I've talked about before their little city mini palettes, liking those and how the matte ones are so good. And this almost seems like a combination of different matte themed city mini palettes sort of fused into one very conveniently sized palette, I will say. But how many shades are in here? 4, 8, 12, 16 colors are in this thing, and it's pretty compact and easy to use. So you may be like, I've got enough neutrals, don't tempt me, but I'm just saying it's a good quality execution here if you were just wondering about that. And it definitely puts, you know, like the Nudes, the palette that Maybelline put out years and years ago. I was actually the first person to be sent that and reviewed it at the time. This is leaps and bounds beyond that. Just the pigmentation, the blendability of everything is so great. So I went into Explorer, which is kind of a mauve-y shade there. And I'm gonna get that going in the crease. I'm gonna try to do something a little different today. I might do like a little bit of a halo eye type deal. A lot of times though, I will say when I'm trying an eyeshadow palette for you guys, not necessarily trying to do some unusual technique, I'm trying to just apply the products in a way that shows off like what they can do. How does it blend in the crease? How does it pack on the lid? Like I'm just trying to show some specific things and not really do it in a wildly different way than what I'm used to. kind of just to show like how does this fit into my template of eyeshadow application. But this palette, I assure you, it is so nice. So I'm now going to go over to Globetrotter here. This is a beautiful burgundy that they've given us in a more generous size over on the side. And this just, I love what it does for a look. Love that kind of tone. It shears out and it looks like really rusty and pretty. And you can see very pigmented. I'm only just tapping lightly into these shades. Then I think I'm going to take some of this color down here called Voyager, and it seems like sort of a plummy brown. And I'm going to pat that on the lid, on the outer part, and also kind of here on the inner part. And we'll let our light pop, excuse me, be more so on the center part of the lid. So when I do something like this, I'll pat, I'll kind of flip my brush, and I'll try to work the shade upward into the crease a bit as well. We can bring in a smaller brush to help us blend. Another new neutral palette that I really think is good is the one from ColourPop called Bare Necessities. Like, it's got a lot of beautiful shades in there, but this almost feels like a edited down version of that, you know? The ColourPop palette did a good job of working in some different color families, a few little different directions you could go. But something I really respect about this Maybelline palette is the lack of overlap. Like, everything is holding its place here as its own specific shade, and there's nothing too close to each other. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just taking my E25 brush that I initially applied stuff to the crease with, and I'm just trying to smooth my colors out. We'll take a little highlight here, this shade called Soloist. By the way, so full coverage. I did pretty much an all matte look the other day with this, and I let that creamy, beigey, vanilla type shade go all over my lid, and it just held its own so well. It's very full coverage and nice. But the color I think we're gonna pop right in the middle of the lid. Let's go for Originator here, because I haven't used that one yet. It seems like it would be the brightest, lightest shade in the palette. And wow, with no special base underneath, aside from just the eye primer, we're gonna get a really beautiful pop here on the center of the lid with that. And just kind of smoothing out the edges. I might come back in with a deeper shade just to keep that really focused on the center of the lid. But see what I mean about the shimmers in this palette? They didn't try to reinvent the wheel, you know, and give us a totally different texture or something that was packed with a lot of glitter. Just these easy, pearly sheen kind of colors that are just very easy to work with and kind of predict how they're gonna be. I'm gonna take a little bit of Explorer and use that to kind of merge my shades together a bit better. Sometimes it's hard when you do your light pop in the middle because you're thinking of blending from both the outside and the inside, whereas I might normally just let a light shade come all the way in. But yeah, that's kind of fun. It looks like almost a glossy pop right there. And then what do you say we take just a smaller brush? This is a Sigma E47, same shade, Originator, and give ourselves a little brightness right in here. It does that very well. And then I'm going to take a pencil brush and I'm going to go back to Voyager, our plummy brown, I should say. It's not a real pure purpley plum, but it's got a hint of it. It's got enough for me. And just blend that. I want to get right to this new mascara, and this is called the Falsies Lash Lift, and I am loving this. It really builds up a beautiful fan of lashes pretty quickly. Not quite as thick of lashes as Superhero might give me, but a great volume of lashes, a great quantity of them. And I love the way it builds on itself. If you can manage to like build up another coat before it totally gets dry, it really does make a difference. The brush, a very popular design these days with the shallow curve, shallow sort of hourglass shape. And I'm gonna apply this, just one coat here. And this was one that I really liked from word go. Like the first application, it was really great for me. It may continue getting even better because that's a lot of times what mascaras will do. but a nice amount of length coming off of this, just with that one really quickly applied coat. And then I'll go back and curl this side, and we'll return to this other eye. And I think it builds really well. And if you're new to my videos, you know, I've got lashes that kind of like to point downward, really straight lashes, as straight as my hair. I appreciate products that can kind of help hold the curl, not weigh down too much. And I like things that build quickly and don't force me to fuss over the lashes too long. Because you know, have you ever been in that position where you're like, okay, I'm applying another coat, and instead of looking better, it ends up just kind of looking worse because everything's kind of clumping in on itself. Now here with coat number 2, I'm loving. 2 coats is the sweet spot for me. Just great length. I haven't worn this on my lower lashes yet, but I'm gonna try it today. And we'll just see how that goes. I don't have any sort of waterproof claim on this, so I don't have like high hopes. So I'm giving myself like the lightest application ever down there on the lower lashes. We're just gonna finish off this look with a quick lip color that I know I love, the Super Stay Matte Ink Crayon. There's this light kind of pinky mauve that I really think is super universal and great, but I also have this bright pink called Treat Yourself. So that's what I'm gonna put on today. And what I love about these is the thinness of application you can get. They almost seem to melt down and thin out as you put them on. And full color like crazy. They're just great. And I'm not always dying to wear a matte lip product, but this kind of thing makes it a pretty pleasant experience all around. Oh, love that so much. So guys, here's the finished look that we're working with. That Lash Lift mascara, I again think it's pretty impressive, and I don't love a lot of mascaras. I'm kind of hard to please, and I think I'm definitely going to continue using that stuff. I like the length. I like that I was able to get to this point pretty quickly, and the curl holding has seemed to be pretty good for me so far. So for me, that and this Nudes of New York eyeshadow palette are the big highlights here. And I don't really have a big problem with the cream blush or the foundation either. I think they're both very like dry skin friendly products. I guess the blush is fine. I'm kind of mentally like comparing it back to the M Cosmetics serum blushes, which I think are the ultimate best of this sort of category. But I still like this stuff, and I would be open to even trying some other shades. The foundation, I see some oxidizing happening with it. It's fine. I don't feel like it's really broken the mold as far as radiant type foundations go, but it does add a definite like nice amount of moisture to the skin if that's what you're after. For me, it might almost verge on more than I want in terms of a tacky feel, and I am sort of a normal to dry skin type right now. But as you saw, we just kind of filled in the blanks with other random Maybelline things. They have a nice highlight, they have a nice of course matte lip crayon. Love the Instant Age Rewind Brightener, of course. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you've come up with in terms of new drugstore products in general. I really wanted to confine this down to one brand because I know I've got a lot of new Milani as well. I'm seeing some bits and pieces here and there from other lines that might come into future videos. Let me know what you're seeing, what you're liking, what you're not liking, and thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate you taking a chunk out of your day to be here with me and watch these videos. That's just the best. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Okay, we're at between 4 and 5 hours of wear right now, and I think the verdict on the lower lash mascara is a no because it's definitely smudging a little bit. Sorry, it's hard not to like want to just rub it away. Lip color, of course, hanging on pretty well. What do you have to say about it? Foundation still feels kind of dewy, as I've noticed. It still looks pretty even and all and nicely radiant, but it just kind of throws me for a loop because when I touch it, it doesn't feel quite as smooth as a more matte foundation might feel. But also I want to note that on the upper lashes, the curl is holding really nicely with that mascara because I haven't touched that up or haven't touched anything up for that matter. So that's where we're at right now. No touch-ups here at 3 p.m. and I'm feeling like maybe the foundation, now I have touched my face. I've caught myself touching my face. And I know that's not good. That doesn't help the situation at all. But around my nose, I don't think I've been messing with my nose, and I think there's been kind of some breakdown in the product there. I'm looking a little shinier than I might normally, and I think that is because this was sort of a rich, hydrating foundation, and it might be best suited for the driest skin out there, really. But I'm pleased with the eye look that's hanging on. But yeah, just wanted to check in and let you know how it's been going. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.